One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Should you be live streaming your podcast? Oh my gosh, y'all, I cannot even tell you how many times I have been getting this question, especially in the last 3 months. Like, I think that video and podcasting going together has just totally gained in popularity. And I have so many thoughts about it. I've tried things, I have seen other people try things, and I just have so much really important decisions that I want you to make before you decide whether it's good or bad. Because honestly, I think that it could be really awesome for some people, and I think that it could be really overwhelming for others. So we're going to share lots of pros and cons, how to set it up, if that's the route that you want to go. Like, this is going to be a fabulous episode if you've been thinking about live streaming your podcast. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been trying to figure out the world of podcasting, think of this show as the time-saving shortcut you've been looking for. So let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, we're going to start with bad analogies or Crystal misremembering metaphors. What's the metaphor? Like, if I had a dime for every time someone asked me about live streaming a podcast, I'd have $1 million. Okay, I know. I just shouldn't do these things because I look dumb when I try to do them. But you know what I'm talking about, okay? You know this expression because holy moly, y'all. I get asked this at least once a week. Whereas 6 months ago, it was probably once in a blue moon. Okay, we're just going to keep going with the analogies and metaphors here. But I get asked this question all the time, and it's not just once a week. Actually, let me take that back. I would say once in my group a week. But then I see it in other people's communities every single day where people are like, should I be live streaming? Is this something I should be doing? Like, am I missing out? Like, it's kind of that feeling that new business owners get when they first start their online business or they first start showing up online. They're like, should I be in all the places, right? Should I be on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Snapchat? And I don't even know all the other ones that I'm not cool enough to be on, but people feel like they're missing out. And so I really wanted to kind of just take the opportunity to talk about live streaming because, again, I've just been seeing this question gain in popularity. And I went back and I was looking through like the backlog of our episodes and I was like, why haven't we talked about this? So fun fact, we actually have talked about this several times on the Potty Report because this question has come up so much in the Potty People community, but I haven't really had a chance to talk about it here. So if you haven't listened to the episode that I did about the Potty Report, I really talked about whenever we were celebrating, yay, we just turned a year old. I talked about how I use that podcast to really play around with content ideas. And it's true. Like if you go listen to that podcast, there's several episodes where I talk about ideas with live streaming your podcast and should you do a video podcast, but I just wanted to reiterate that it's really fun to have a place where you can test ideas with your audience first before you know, oh, okay, I really need to bring that over to this podcast so we talk about it. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. If you haven't listened to the Potty Report, you need to listen to it. It's my daily show. It comes out Monday through Friday every single week, and it's 5 minutes or less. So you can listen to it while you're getting ready, brushing your teeth in the morning, or, whatever it is that you do in the mornings when you're getting ready. It's so fun to hear that people listen to the show whenever they're drinking their morning coffee. So that's really cool. I want you to go check it out. But let's go back to live streaming your podcast. Okay. So I have some pros, I have some cons, and I actually have a step-by-step how-to for those of you that are really interested in setting this up. But I'm just going to preface everything that we're going to talk about here today with I am not the live stream expert, okay? But lucky for you, I have a really, really good friend of mine who is. So I'm going to go ahead and give her a shout out here. So Melanie Diane Howe, she is the live stream expert. She has just gone off the deep end on doing crazy amounts of research with testing products, trying to see which setup works best for different types of people and different types of streamers. And she just way above and beyond. If you've ever enjoyed, if you've caught one of my Facebook lives or my YouTube lives, and you're like, oh, where's this countdown timer? Crystal has this fancy setup. How'd she get her podcast logo up there? How'd she get this? That is all me messaging Melanie and saying, hey girl, I kind of want to do, how do you do this? And she's the one in my ear telling me behind the scenes how to do everything. So I want you to go follow her. I want you to go check her out. I want you to go to her website, go to her Instagram, but make sure you are following her on YouTube. This is really important because she does a weekly show. It's every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's 1 p.m. Central. Hang on, I can do this. And 11 p.m. Pacific. Or no, 11 a.m. I'm trying to get the different time zones. So it's 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific, but she does a weekly show where she talks, that's all she talks about is live streaming and how to make the most out of your live streams. So make sure you go check that out. She also has a fantastic Facebook group that I'm going to link to in the show notes. And we got to get her on the show again. She's been on the podcast before, but not since she's gone all in with live streaming. So I'm going to make sure and get her on the show to answer some of the questions. This is actually a good segue. Why don't we talk about things today? And then if you have follow-up questions, send them to me and we'll make sure that we get those answered whenever I have Melanie back on the show. But let's talk about the pros and cons first. So, do I like live streaming? I love live streaming. I love live streaming on my Facebook group. I do it on my page and I do it on my YouTube channel, depending on what the content is, what the topic is. But I'm up to about Anywhere from 3 to 4 live streams a week. I think without a shadow of a doubt, I do at least 2. I do one for my potty people community. That is every single week. And then I do my main one on Tuesdays. And sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's in the afternoon. I need to get like a really like solid schedule on when it's going to be. But yeah, like I really enjoy live streaming. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the pros first, like good news and then bad news, right? So let's start on like the happy-go-lucky, cheery side of things because I really, really do love live streaming. So the reason why, pro number 1 is it's very easy to repurpose your content. Oh my gosh, if you have video, people love video. People eat up video. They love that they can watch you live, they can interact with you, and then you can download a video and repurpose it for Instagram, for Facebook. You can put it on YouTube. Like it's very easy to repurpose video content. You could transcribe it and use, take quotes from it and put it out different places. Or you could do kind of what I was saying earlier with like the potty report where I test ideas. Sometimes I've seen people that will go live on Facebook and kind of test out an idea and then go and create a podcast episode saying, oh, I did a live stream the other day and Sarah from our community had a question about this and, this is how I answered her, but I didn't have a chance to go deeper. Let me really answer how I would answer if I had 20 minutes to dedicate to this one question. So there's a lot of different ways that you could repurpose live stream content. The second thing is it's really easy to do now. Oh my gosh. It is so much easier to live stream than it was 6 months, a year ago. I have been using StreamYard. If you want to check this out and see what it is, I'm actually an affiliate for StreamYard. So you can go to crystalprofit.com/StreamYard and check them out. I think that you get a discount. It's like $10 or $15 off your first month. But you can try it for free. You don't even have to have a paid version. I know several people in the online community space that do the free version. They don't even need the upgraded version. But what it is this is a platform, and I'm really going to go into detail in a second about how to use it, but it's a platform that allows you to make live streaming easy. And I do not put that lightly because I used to do live streams where I had to connect this other very complicated software and I had to connect it to Facebook and make sure that we had these API keys that were working together and talking together. And if one thing was off, it was really hard to go live. And then there was a lot of things that you had to manage on the back end to make sure that the connection didn't break and you didn't hit the wrong button and then everything shut down. And you're like, am I live? I can't tell. I'm hoping I'm talking. I don't really know if I'm live yet. StreamYard makes it so much easier to do really cool things on a very free budget, right? You could do this totally for free or at a very low cost to you when you're just getting started. And oh my gosh, like I said, go follow Melanie because she does stuff with StreamYard that totally blows me away. She actually works with them as like a strategic partner. So she knows the DL on ooh, they have this new feature coming out and you can upload videos and show them while you're live and all kinds of way more advanced things than what I do. But it's just StreamYard really does. We drank the Kool-Aid. We love it. She's actually the one that told me about StreamYard last year and I started using it and I absolutely love it. So those are my 2 pros. It's easy to repurpose and it's so much easier to do now. The cons, okay? I have a few cons about live streaming your podcast.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants.
Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
And the first one is, it is more setup and more equipment. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that it is going to take a webcam and it's going to take a little bit of figuring out, well, how does my podcast microphone work with this? And like, how do I do this? And like, it's just more of a mental challenge too, because I've had people say, well, I want to do a live stream podcast, but I don't want to look at the camera. Do I have to look at the camera? Do I need to interact with my audience? Do I need to answer questions if people are on Facebook, like while they're live, or do I need to ignore them and only pay attention to the podcast audience? Or is my podcast audience going to think that I'm ignoring them because I'm only talking to the Facebook people? Like, there's a few things that you have to work out on your own, but it really, like, it takes some more planning. If you're going to live stream your show, like, it does have a few questions that you need to ask and answer before you get there. So it's not as easy as a regular podcast where you are like by yourself in your office. If you're doing a solo show and you're just recording, no one else has to be around, no one else has to know. And that's the second con, is you don't have to be camera ready, y'all. If you're doing a podcast, you don't have to be camera ready. But if you're live streaming, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I got to at least do my makeup. I got to do my hair. I want to make sure I don't look like I just rolled out of bed. Because once your content's out there, like, unless you take it down, it's going to live out there. Whether it's in your Facebook group, it's on your YouTube channel, whatever that looks like for you. But you have to be camera ready in the sense of whatever that looks like for you. But now I want to talk about some of the actual logistics that go into live streaming. All right. So we have a few simple pros, a few simple cons. But whenever it comes to logistics, you have to ask yourself, am I going to do this for just my solo podcast where I just kind of turn on my camera and I'm just talking into my mic and, you know, it's like a behind the scenes shot where people are just seeing you kind of while you're doing your thing, right? It's almost like that fishbowl effect where like you're in your own little bubble, but you have the camera on and people can see what you're doing. Or are you going to have the approach of, I'm actually going to interact with my audience and answer their questions and like call them out and say, hey, Sarah had a great question. She's in our Facebook group. Here's her question. And this is how I would answer it. Or are you only going to do live streams whenever you have an interview? So this is another cool thing that I've seen people do. It's like they have a special guest, and because like they have a paid group or they have a private group with members in it, they're like, oh, well, because these people pay me or they're part of this special community, they get access to the video content. I think that this is actually really cool, and it's a great way to kind of have perks to your membership or a Facebook group or another community that you have online where you're like, oh, if you want to enjoy like the live aspect of these interviews or be able to ask the guest questions, you know, after the interview is over, then you have to be a part of our community. So it kind of creates a little bit of that FOMO where people are like, oh man, I wish that I was part of their community so I could ask these incredible guest questions whenever they have them on. So these are just a few things to ask yourself logistic-wise, how you want your live streams to actually work. And now I want to go into the setup, because this is where a lot of y'all, especially those of you that are like, I'm not tech savvy, that sounds too complicated, I can't do it. If you can do a Zoom call, and like raise your hand if you have not done a Zoom call in the last 12 months. You're a liar. Put your hand down. Okay. Like that was a total setup, right? But I know that everybody listening to this has done a Zoom call in the last 12 months. And seriously, if you can do that, you can handle creating a live stream. 24 months ago, that was not the case, but not everyone used Zoom. Not everyone was doing remote meetings. Not everyone was talking to their colleagues and their clients and their families and everybody in a virtual space. But now, like, that's like second nature. Like, we got this. We can absolutely do like live video because we've had practice. We've been able to do it. So it is super simple to set up, but I am going to link to the show notes, and I haven't talked about the show notes yet. So crystalprofit.com/episode 243 is where you're going to see everything we talked about today. I'm going to link to Melanie's stuff. I'm also going to link to some YouTube videos that I've done, as well as to Melanie's channel that you can really go like deep dive, follow all the things that she talks about over there. But it's really 4 simple steps to take a live stream and turn it into a podcast. Okay. So that is the idea here is you can live stream your content immediately to the audience that's watching, but then you can download it and use it as a podcast episode. So in order to make this work, first, I highly recommend using a platform like StreamYard. I'm just going to plug them again, crystalprofit.com/StreamYard, and try them out. I'm telling you, like, you're like, oh, she can't, Crystal's probably has a little bit more tech savviness than me. Like maybe she's got all this complicated stuff. She's got it figured it out. I'm telling you, StreamYard is very simple to use. Very, very simple. If I can figure this out, I know that you can too. And y'all, I didn't have all the resources, all the YouTube videos that have been published in the last 12 months that really help you set StreamYard up properly. I kind of was just like patchworking it together and I figured it out. So if I can do this, you can too. So one, you're going to set up a StreamYard account, and like sub point to that is you're going to connect your Facebook, YouTube, like all the accounts where you want to live stream. And what's cool about StreamYard, I know the plan that I'm on is one of the higher tiers, but I have my Facebook page, my Facebook group, my YouTube channel, and I also have 2 or 3 other groups that I am an admin of and I participate in where I can go live. Y'all, I can simultaneously go live in 3 separate places. Like this is what I do on a regular basis. My normal live stream that I do on Tuesdays, I'm going live on my Facebook page, in my Facebook group, and on my YouTube channel simultaneously. There's no more like, oh, I got to go live here, and then I got to go live here, and then I got to upload a video there. No, you can do it all at the same time using StreamYard. So when you sign up, you connect all of your accounts, and then you're good to go, right? Like it's just a click of a button. Next time you want to go live, you just decide, oh, I only want to go live in my Facebook group, or I only want to go live on YouTube. You can change that up every single time. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is I want you to prepare with notes if you have a solo show, and I want you to prep your guest if you're doing an interview. Now, this is really the same as when you're going to record your solo show, right? Maybe you have some notes, maybe you have a Google Doc, whatever that looks like for how you prep for your podcast on a regular basis. The only difference is you're going to have a camera in front of you, whether it's a webcam, whether you could do it from your phone, like however you're deciding to go live, you want to have a camera presence that looks good. And that's so subjective, right? Like what is good? That does not mean a 4K camera that cost $1,000 that you need to go buy tomorrow before you start live streaming. I can't even tell you how many times I have live streamed with just my phone, and it works perfect. It works fantastic. It looks great. But I would recommend at least having some sort of setup. And this is more related to lighting than anything else. Like you don't want to look like it's a ransom video whenever you're live streaming your podcast. And I've seen people that are like, well, I have to do it in my closet. Well, that's fine. Put up a picture, put up a frame, like do something in your closet, like pick up all the dirty laundry, just do something to where you're like, okay, I feel good about, live streaming in here. It's going to sound great. It's going to look great, and it's going to be worth my time. So if you're doing it solo, you want to make sure you're doing that. But also if you have guests, because people are going to see both of you. And with StreamYard, I think on my plan, I don't know how it is on the free one, if it's up to 4 people, but on my plan, I could have up to 10 people. Y'all, 10 people on a live stream sounds crazy chaotic. No, thank you. I don't want to have that many people on my live stream when I'm doing a podcast, maybe one day in the future, but not right now. But I think that it's really cool that whenever you're prepping your guest, you let them know, hey, this is going to be live. So not only are we going to be chatting, but we can have the opportunity to interact with our audience. So you want to prep them. And I have a pro tip for you. I did this whenever I first started using StreamYard. I took a few screenshots of what it would look like for a guest to come into the studio. So it's almost like a green room, right? If you've ever been to an event, where it's like, oh, the speaker's backstage, that's exactly what StreamYard has. And it's a super cool feature where you can say, okay, here you put your name in here. Here's where you set up your audio and your mic, much like Zoom. Again, if you've done Zoom, you can use StreamYard where you set it all up. You're good to go. Your camera looks awesome. Your audio sounds great. And then if you do like a quick tutorial prepping your guest on how to do this, they'll feel more confident and they'll feel better that like, okay, I'm not going to totally screw this up, right? Whether it's a quick video tutorial you do, or maybe some screenshots, or find an awesome YouTube video that you can send to them beforehand. Hopefully Melanie has one. If she doesn't, I'm going to make sure that she does from now on. But, something that's like, hey, this is what you're going to see whenever you're a guest for a StreamYard stream. Okay. And then again, I'm going to link to all of Melanie's stuff. So I'm going to go and dig through her content and see if she has a really good example that you could send to guests. But I want you to prep with your own notes, whether it's solo or an interview, and then prep with your guest. And then the third step in going live for a live stream is you're going to go live and record. Simple as that. And this is where you make those decisions. Are we going to interact with the audience? Are we just going to record this like it's a podcast episode? Like, make these decisions before you go live with your guest, because I think it's really important. Or make these decisions if you're going live solo, whether you're going to interact with your guest while you're talking, or if you're going to just teach or present your content and then do a Q&A session at the end. So whatever format you choose, there's no right or wrong answer here, but you do need to make those decisions before you get into it so your audience knows what's going on. And they're not like, wait, what did I just stumble into? Like, what's happening here, right? You want people to know kind of what's going on. And then the fourth step, and this is the last step in getting set up with a live stream podcast, is you want to download the audio or video whenever you're finished. This is where it's going to look a little bit different for everybody, because maybe you're live streaming in a Facebook group, but you don't want to share it on YouTube until later. Totally fine. What you can do is download the video whenever you're finished. Like, you'll hit stop, you'll hit end stream, and then you can go and repurpose that video later, or you could use it on Instagram. You could use it wherever you want to use it, but you want to make sure that you download the audio or the video. And this is what I love about StreamYard. It's so cool because you had to download the video and then you had to extract the audio and do a whole bunch of complicated things that you no longer have to do. So I'm excited for y'all. I wish that this was something that happened from the very beginning, but I'm glad that they rolled out this feature, because now if you're like, I don't need the video, it's already like I streamed it to YouTube, it's there, I can link to it if people want to go watch it, I don't want to edit it or do anything else. What you can do is simply download the audio. You don't have to have the video. You can click download audio, it'll download a MP3 or a WAV file, and you can use that as your podcast. So I hope that you found all of this helpful. Like, I really, really want y'all to consider live streaming, because I think that there are more pros than cons in like looking at how you can repurpose it and use it in so many different ways. But I know y'all at the same time. I know that it feels a little overwhelming. And I think that like subconsciously, that's one of the reasons why I haven't really pushed this and talked about this on the show, because most of you are just trying to figure out your podcast. And I don't want you to think, God, is this something I need to be doing right now? And I've had several new podcasters say, well, I want to do a video podcast. I want to do this and I want to do that. And I'm like, that sounds really overwhelming for someone who is just starting, someone who is just trying to figure out how to get their podcast going and off the ground. It sounds like a lot. And the reason why I say that is because I know what a lot feels like. I felt like it was a lot whenever I first started. I had to learn editing. I had to learn how my hosting provider worked. I had to learn just a lot of things I had never learned before. So if you are listening to this and you are brand new to podcasting, like you haven't even launched your show, you are just getting started and you don't feel confident with technology, I don't want you to live stream until you've been doing your podcast for at least 3 months. Okay. And I know that sounds like a lot, but 3 months actually goes by really fast. Here we are. We're already in the second quarter of 2021. 3 months goes by very quickly. So I'm not saying I don't want you to live stream at all, but I don't want you to live stream in a way that it stresses you out and you're like, oh my gosh, I wanted my podcast to be this way, but now I threw in live stream and now I'm kind of just stressing out about it and it's not the way that I thought it was going to be and I'd hoped it was going to be this way. And then all that, you're spiraling. You're spiraling because you're overwhelmed with all the things that you actually don't even have to be doing. So if you feel confident, if you're like, man, I got technology, I've already used StreamYard before, I know how to do this, this is my jam, I just needed to know how to repurpose it for podcasts, then maybe you're ready for it. Maybe you are. But if you don't confidently feel awesome about your podcast and your message right now, I don't want you to live stream. I don't want you to throw that in as something else that's added on top of your plate. I'm not saying to not live stream, period. I'm saying not to live stream in a way that you stress out and you're like, oh my gosh, this is just not going to work for me. So I hope that you found this episode helpful today. Make sure you go check out the show notes, crystalprofit.com/episode 243, because that's where we are going to have everything that we talked about. So many awesome resources. Go check out StreamYard. And if you haven't watched, go to my YouTube channel. I have a playlist of all the live streams that I've done. And maybe you'll get some inspiration. I have some live podcast episodes that I've recorded for the Potty Report. I don't tend to do a lot of the Profit Podcast live streams, but who knows? Maybe this episode will inspire me to do more. But I think that video is not going anywhere, y'all. That's just straight up. Video is not going anywhere. It is simply gaining more popularity. So I think that the faster you can become more confident behind the camera, then you will have a higher chance of succeeding a lot faster. That's not to say that you have to have video in order to be successful, but it is something that people are looking for whenever they're finding a content creator that they love. They're like, man, do they have someone on YouTube? Do they have a Facebook group where they post videos of, it's just something that's not going anywhere. So I want you to feel confident about it. I want you to feel good about it. And I hope that it's something that you're going to explore. Again, that's all I have for you today. Check out the show notes, crystalprofit.com/episode 243. Go check out Melanie and all of her incredible resources. And if this is your first time tuning in, make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this podcast. And I would love to hear what you think about this show. We're doing a review contest in the month of April. So if you're listening to this way far in the future, the contest may be over, but in the month of April 2021, we are doing a review contest. It is coming up. It hasn't started yet, don't worry, but it is coming up very soon. So keep your eyes and ears, stay awake, be on the lookout, friends, because it is coming and it's going to be so much fun. But that's all I have for you today. So remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Crystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Crystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.